Hi, my name's Tom, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing Carl King's So You're a Creative Genius, Now What? Now, other than obviously being a book, this is kind of quite difficult to classify. I suppose it would be most sensible to consider it a self-help book or a career advice book, but I think that does a massive disservice to the content and the writing inside of it, and I don't want anyone to get put off by that label by thinking this is quite stuffy or non-specific in its terms. I picked up this book just after Christmas. I'm a bit about the author himself. Carl King, you might not have heard of. I know him better as Sir Millard Mulch, which is a character he invented and used to basically portray over the last few years, or I think more like 6 or 7 years ago now. This is when I came into contact with him. I saw some videos online of him playing. I think it was like a 6-string Ibanez bass, playing some insane music in like 13/8 over, like he was playing this bass ostinato over a Virgil Donati drum solo. Anyway, his image and that video got burned into my memory because I thought it was really cool. And eventually sort of lost track of him online or whatever, and eventually came along his mailing list. And this popped up in my inbox and popped onto Amazon. It was very cheap, so I thought I'd pick it up. And it was an incredibly surprising read. I read it in about, I read it in one sitting, in one day, but I probably would have finished it in an afternoon had I not been distracted by, having to eat and things like that. Just quickly about who this book is aimed for, who I would suggest it's aimed for. Obviously, the title suggests that, it's aimed at people with creative talents and things. And that's pretty much accurate. Anyone who's trying to make a career in, or is making a career in, a creative industry, and by that I mean where you're creating things for a living. If you're a producer, a producer of like music, so like composer, or if you're an artist, an illustrator, a web designer, anything like that, anything where you're creating for a living, I would say that this book is aimed at you. And even if maybe it's not aimed directly at you, you might be able to garner some really great things from it. Personally, I thought it was a fantastic, amazing read. Not only was it really well written in terms of readability, again, I finished it in one day, and I was planning to do other stuff as well. I literally just picked up this book in the morning, read the first page and was glued from that point on. It's incredibly sincere. The author, Carl, gives some great anecdotes about his own life, which only serves to make his advice more solid, if that makes sense. Obviously, if this was coming from someone who sort of hit the big time straight away, it might seem a bit disingenuous, but he's not, unfortunately, as the way the world works, he's not a household name, but he is making a comfortable living, or at least certainly is now, seems to be making a comfortable living doing what he loves, and that's not always been the case, which he details. So all these tips and things have more impact to me knowing a bit about him, so those anecdotes are really useful. It's full of practical advice, which to me, like reading inspirational stories and hearing inspirational speeches and things is one thing, things that make you think, oh wow, they did that, so maybe I can do this. But having someone say, or here's some actual legitimate practical advice, is another thing. Things like how to manage your workflow, how to manage working with clients, which is something I have to deal with. This may not apply to everyone. I'm a guitar teacher and composer, so I try and work freelance as much as possible. So dealing with other people is part of my job. And it talks about in there about how to deal with them, how to manage your money better, really practical advice, down to software recommendations and things like that, and other book recommendations as well. Simply put, without going on a massive rant, this book is amazing. Value-wise, it's incredibly cheap on Amazon at the moment, or it was when I bought it. It was something like £6. People spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on self-help seminars and weekend getaways and things like that. I would suggest anyone who's thinking about one of those things, or is in a field where this might be applicable, is to try reading this book first, because honestly, I read it in a day, and it's going to be one of those things that I return to perhaps even on a bi-monthly basis, every couple of months or so, might be worth skimming through a couple of chapters. And I'm sure within a year's time, this book is going to be filled with pencil notes and highlighter markers everywhere. It gave me a real kick up the arse in terms of my workflow, and helped me think about things in a much more logical sense. So if you are stuck in a rut and you are a creative person, and by that I mean, you produce things, you're basically self-employed and you're producing things or trying to produce things for a living and create things, I would strongly advise picking up this book. Even if you don't get around to reading it straight away, just grab a copy from Amazon. I'm going to put a link in the description where I bought it from. But yeah, it is fantastic, and without me saying those things over and over again, I'll end this video now. So massively high recommendation for this book. It's So You're a Creative Genius, Now What? By Carl King, and the production company is Michael Wise Productions, www.wmp.com, and you can go on Carl's website. I think it's carlkingcreative.com, but if you Google Carl King or Sir Millard Mulch, he will come up, and you can find more about him and more about the book through there. He also has a mailing list as well with some, I think he recently posted some excerpts from the book. So yeah, if you want more information, it's all there. Thanks ever so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this review, then please rate and subscribe. There's more reviews on the way, and there's plenty more guitar instructional videos coming, both in regular tuning for the weekly videos and the new fourths tuning. Plenty more stuff on the way, so if this isn't your cup of tea, then hopefully I'll be able to cater for you elsewhere. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.